Welcome to Under the Wings Helmet. I'm Kyle Simmons, and I'm joined by former Michigan and NFL offensive lineman Thomas Guynes and the host of the ASAP Elite podcast, Rob Penn.
What up, though?
This week's episode is sponsored by Jabs Gym. Learn the fundamentals of boxing through high-intensity cardio and strength workouts with locations throughout Metro Detroit, the Eastern Market, Ferndale, and Birmingham. We would also like to thank our other sponsor, Juke. You can purchase their gear at jukefootball.com. Last Saturday, the Wolverines defeated Nebraska 45-7 down in Lincoln. J.J. McCarthy completed 12 of 16 passes for 156 yards and 2 touchdowns. Blake Corum had 74 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns, and Roman Wilson had 4 catches for 58 yards and 2 touchdowns. Thomas, what are your thoughts about this week's win versus the Huskers?
I mean, it was an expected win. Obviously, Nebraska is seemingly still on a downtrend. The Wolverines were expected to go in there and put up those kind of numbers. I think really the surprise breakout to me was Mr. Mullins, number 20, within the running back position, threw up some good numbers, showed some good bursts in there. I thought our offensive line stepped up their game a little bit. I graded them out as probably about a solid B. Just some things that we still need to clean up. I'm still looking to see when we're going to get our official starting 5 up front. I thought JJ did a really good job as far as staying in the pocket. When he was in the pocket, he was delivering strikes. When he needed to get out of the pocket or do some JJ-esque sort of things, was still able to show his athleticism. And even while on the run, delivering some strikes. So I thought our receivers did a really good job. Overall, as far as our defense went, I thought our defense did the damn thing, was able to get home a couple of times, keep their quarterback rattled. I believe he had like less than a 25% QBR, something silly. But overall, I thought it was a good, solid win for us. But again, I'm not using the Cornhuskers as our litmus test as to say how good we are. Right now, we are still delving deeper and deeper into the Big Ten season. And we're going to continue to get a lot of teams' best shot, getting ready to go up to the Twin Cities to play those Golden Gophers. I'm expecting the same sort of outcome and output from the Wolverines based off of what I've seen from Minnesota thus far. So we're still tuning up, getting some things tightened up. But at the end of the day, we're doing some good things. And I think by the time we get to the meat and potatoes of the Big Ten season, we're going to be right where we need to be.
Well, I want to talk about the bigger picture, in conjunction with that. The number 30, the thing is that now I think we need to start throwing around historical words like that. Overall points in 5 games. I've never seen it. Either, you know what I'm saying? This is some legendary shit, to say the least. On top of that, our game plan was perfect. You could tell it was well planned out and well executed. 16 passes, 30 rushes, 45 points, 38 minutes time of possession. That sounds like some rib tenderization if I ain't ever heard none. You dig, TG?
Yeah, man. Definitely got to give it up to Coach Moore as far as, putting that offensive game plan into play. And again, like I said, it was an overall team win. I thought we were firing on all cylinders. But as I've been, preaching to the Wolverine faithful, this part of the season is not the litmus test that I want to be judged on. Right now, we're going to see some better competition. And like I said, and if it's not until the end of the season, so be it. But we have to continue to get better. I'm still seeing some chinks in our armor when you go back and really watch the game with a trained or a learned eye. But based off of the teams that we have been playing, we've been doing the things that we should and are supposed to do.
Yeah, definitely. Last week, we also spoke about putting up points. This game plan usually dictates a 28-point game. For us to put up 45, that shows explosiveness and control. So I got to tip our hat. Like I say, but this is amazing, man. I think it's 5.8 points per game. Like I said, we're watching something that's going to go down in history here because we don't have any explosive offenses coming up anytime soon before Penn State, which isn't considered explosive because they're a running team.
Right.
You know, so
and
we
also
may
I think we're coming up on 1,000 wins too. So
that's right.
Getting through this season, this to your point, Rob, this very well could be a very seemingly a quietly historical step within Wolverine fandom, if you will, as far as some of the mile markers and some of the great things that are taking place within Wolverine football. So hats off to the Wolverine team and the coaches right now because we are doing big things.
I'll go out on a limb and say we are probably watching the best football team in Michigan history.
I don't know if I agree.
Negative, Ghost Rider. Negative.
I said it.
Well,
time will tell.
Hey,
I think.
So. And you know what, Kyle? I think that was the best way to put it. Time will tell.
Exactly.
Is this the best team in Michigan history? Possibly to be put in the conversation, but again,
last year we were talking about that team possibly being one of the greatest. This team is more mature. This team is ready.
I almost feel like last year's team is better than this year's team.
I don't know.
Just kind of agree with that.
I think we're looking at like a 92 and a 92.7 thing going on here. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Hey. At the end of the day, right now, like I said, what we're seeing right now, again, based off the teams that we played, this cannot be the litmus test that we are judged by. I want to see us get into a dogfight. I want to see how the players, I want to see how the coaches react, and I want to see the adjustments that are going to be made. And as we go back to last year, we were a halftime second half team where we came out firing on all cylinders. What I'm looking to see this year, can we make on the fly adjustments to get the train back on the tracks in order to keep these games close and competitive and not have to go into halftime as 10, 14 point deficit.
Hey, to close this out, I just want to put the icing on the cake and say, man, this is awesome, dog. I love it. You know what I'm saying? We've been able to do this our whole lives, and to be able to finally see it all come together.
Yeah, I mean, it's about time. It's been a long time coming, especially during the I'll just call them the Adidas years, and coming back full circle and us, being mentioned in those top 5 teams, being a point of conversation. You go back and you look at the USC game. I basically think USC is probably a fraud at this particular point. And the only reason why I say that is just based off their defense. A lot of talented guys, probably, this year's Heisman Trophy winner. But I definitely feel like the Wolverines, based on our level of physicality, could definitely play with that caliber team out of USC.
Hey, and like I say, hey, guys, next week, we hold another offense 7 points or under. I say we're on to something. Yep, we're on to something.
But are we truly on to something? Because you go back,
it is.
But you got to go back and look at the Northwestern game.
10 points, though. I'm saying 10 points, 15 points. That's still a great game, great defense.
Like I said,
one touchdown off of fluke plays. Last week we were talking about the slant that Rutgers cost. The Rutgers caught off a blown play. That was a zero. Right. We're talking about a lot of little blown plays here that can be 0, 0, 0.
And we had 2s and 3s in.
Yep. It can be zeros.
Hey, there's no doubt, and the one thing that kind of gives me pause, we're in the season now. We got to press the gas. I'm all for giving guys a shot to play, but I want to hang 50 and 60 when we're supposed to hang 50 and 60 on folks. At this particular point in time, the early part of the season, we're going to get our 2s and 3s in, yes. But as we're starting to get deeper into the Big Ten season, definitely need to continue to keep those starters in there. And, I understand the flip side of that. Obviously, if the game is in hand, why keep some of those starters in, trying to prevent injury. I get that. But yeah, I'm just not a huge fan of seeing a bit of drop off from our ones and we put the twos and threes in. Then at which point in time, to your point, Rob, we start giving up those points late in the game. I'm looking for the style points because right now, as we all know, this is a different era of college football, and style points are going to affect the rankings. But I definitely want to address one of the other elephants in the room. What happened to Mr. Orgy? I didn't see Mr. Orgy in the game.
I didn't either. I didn't even notice. That's the bad thing.
Well, but like I said, just with the level of athleticism that you continue to hear that this young man brings to the table, I still find it very interesting that he has in some way, or the coaches have in some way found a way to get this young man on the field and let him, be some sort of contributing factor.
Hey, in addition to that, I think it's time to believe what we see and name Mr. Mullins the number 2 back.
I'm so happy that you said that. When you watch Mr. Mullins put his foot in the ground and decide to make whatever cut he was going to make, that young man did it. He ran with a sense of purpose and authority. Unfortunately, as far as what the body of work I've been seeing for number 7 this far, based off a lot of the verbiage that he put out early in the season, he's not living up to it. I don't know what's going on in that young man's world. I wish him all the luck. But at this particular point in time, I think Mullins definitely needs to be the number 2.
Yep. Go ahead and put on, he's a good third down back because he can catch the peel. Donovan can catch the peel. But at the beginning of the season, he was talking about that he would be projected to be one of the top 3 running backs off the board if he came out. Not no more. He's looking like a 6th-rounder.
Yeah, I'm definitely not seeing that level of productivity. And I'm just not seeing the burst and the assuredness as far as what he's doing. So again, don't have any intimate insight as to what's going on with that young man. Obviously, we wish him the best, but based off the productivity that we're seeing on the field, I definitely want to say Mr. Mullins should be cemented as the number 2.
And to conclude that just shows you the quality of team that we got, because we're sitting up here having a segment about our number 2 running back.
What's awesome about it is it takes me back to when I played, when we had a whole stable of backs.
Yes, sir.
When you had the Ricky Powers and the Tyrone Wheatleys and the Biaka Batukas and the Clarence Williams and the Jesse Johnsons and all of these guys, right? The Chris Howards, a lot of those guys, all of those guys I played with. So when you're able to say your 1 and 2 goes down, but your 3 can come in and pretty much still carry the mail, and there's no real fall off. This is, to your point, Rob, I think we're starting to turn the corner, if you will, as far as starting to get that level of depth across the board.
This Saturday, the number 2 ranked Michigan Wolverines travel to Minnesota to face the Gophers. The Brown Jug game, we all know what this is. Don't really have to go too much into it. So what are we going to do to keep it?
I mean, I'm basically looking for the same sort of output we had this week. Let's go down there, establish the run. Even when you watched the game last week where the commentators was like, there's something to be said when you know what our identity is, you know what our ethos is. We're a bruising team. We want to run the ball. And guess what? We want to run the ball. And furthermore, you can't stop us. So we go out there, establish the run, to Rob's point, establish the time of possession, win the turnover battle, and just let JJ be JJ. And we have a talented wide receiving core. I'm definitely expecting for us to cover the spread, get in, get out. Like I said, stay away from the injury bug. Come on back to good old Ann Arbor and continue to press the gas and get through this Big Ten season.
That's one thing that I refuse to talk about with the Michigan Wolverines, because they're perennial heartbreakers when they come down to spreads. Throw that out the window. Last week, Minnesota was in a dogfight with the Cajuns, the Ranger Cajuns of UL Lafayette, my old stomping grounds, down 17-14 in the first half. They had to really grit and pull that out. Yeah, we're going to have one of those games that we're 7 points, 6 points for the defense. I think we're giving 30, one of those low-key throttle back games, you know, and it's gonna be a massacre, you know what I'm saying? In some stat category, except the spread.
Like I said, I'm just looking to get the W. From what I saw with Minnesota, they're a little bit like Nebraska, at least from the defensive side of things. I didn't see anything that caused me any pause. I definitely feel like our players are going to be very well matched up. And I think just with the play calling and the formation, able to spread them out a little bit. When we spread them out, let's run the ball. They want a crowd. Let's take the top off of it.
And that's it for this week's episode of Under the Wings Helmet. Thank you to our sponsors, Javs Gym and Juke. Also, be sure to check out Under the Wings Helmet merchandise at asapelite.com. Come back next week where we preview the next matchup. And be sure to listen to us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and the Believe Podcast Network. You can also watch us on asapelite.com and the ASAP Elite YouTube channel. For Thomas Guynes and Rob Penn, I'm Kyle Simmons. Go Blue.
Hell
yeah.